if you would like, I can show you on the handout. Excuse me, Jeff. Thank you. You're not that bad. Come on. If you look at this handout here, this is the number that I showed you with no deduction. That's the number with the 50%. Yeah. So it saves them about $4,000. Same on this one. That's with 100%, and that's with 50% reduction.
That's with 100% or 16%.
Yes. Correct. Absolutely correct.
Just pull the plug and put it
That's
back.
the bottom two numbers, the 37 and 41.
That's correct. That's with the 50% reduction for distribution system. Maybe I'm sorry for ruining your night.
You owe me a new bulb.
Really?
Again?
It didn't go pop.
It's coming
Oh,
back.
no, we're coming back.
Whoa.
I got out of that one too. See, it's not all bad being Scottish.
Should have made it pay up. Scotch.
Scottish.
Do we charge it to the village? Yeah, right.
It's taking a while still to heat up.
John, while you're waiting, can I ask a question?
Absolutely, please.
While you're waiting, John, is you explain to them the rule on first water, last water for the customer? The radium level has to be the first to the last.
Yes. What Jeff's talking about is that everybody in the village has to have a water supply that has radium that meets standards, which is why they have to take the pipe all the way to their water tower, because that's where their well is and they have to blend it there. And I think you asked a question, Robert, as to what if they needed more water, if they don't have an efficient mixing system. You know, and it's not my job to tell them this, but they would have to match their pump out by their water tower to the rate that water runs into their system to get true blending. You can't run the village pump for 2 hours and run the water from the city for 24 hours and expect it to mix and blend like that, because then you will, for some people on the system, it won't be properly mixed and they won't meet the state standard. So they would have a tough time blending and making it all work, which again mitigates against the 3-inch meter, because what you're going to do is you're not going to feed the water to them over 24 hours. You're going to feed it at a rate that matches their pumping, which would say, forget about the meter size thing. It's got no relevance to practicality.
Just a side question, I guess. What is there any estimate on how long it would take if they were doing 100% of our water for our water to basically clean their system like it's
See,
done
we
in
haven't
ours?
even done that in our own system yet.
I know.
We
We're still working on it.
Yeah.
You know, I would say that it wouldn't be out of line to think 2 years before the city water cleans up, and it'd be even longer because they're
going to expect that it's just
well,
done,
right.
and it's not going to happen.
You agree with that, Jeff?
No, they're all plastic.
Over
But
there.
they still have sediment deposition and stuff in it.
They could flush that, they could be done in 6 months.
There you go.
But the reason I asked the question for John was to explain it. The rule is there to protect the city. It doesn't matter which city you want to talk about. It's there to protect the city that has a radium issue. The point of the rule is that if I come out there as an inspector and I'm doing a test and I find that there's a radium level on the distribution system that's high, you fail. It doesn't matter how well you blended or how well you did things. If you fail, you fail.
You fail.
So the rule is, well, John, you can take it.
Or no matter where he did the testing from,
Mm-hmm.
it would still be fail.
Right. Absolutely. And just to answer Ted's question, so we're all on the same page, the numbers that are on the bottom of this chart here show the 50% reduction in distribution system O&M costs. And as I mentioned before, that would be about $4,000 at 100% or $2,000 at 50% blend. Thank you.
Any more questions?
The ball is in their court,
No, the ball is in your
Our court
court.
right now.
but for whether or not they want to buy water.
Exactly. It's your job at this point, I think, Robert, to tell them how you're gonna charge them. If you're gonna charge them that $41,000 or something less than that, I do not think it would be reasonable for you to charge them much more than the 41. But if you're feeling cooperative and generous, you could come down a little bit.
And it doesn't matter the size of the meter, really?
In my opinion, it does not. That's a red herring.
Except if they're blending, they've gotta have,
We have to have a meter of some sort.
right, but they'd have to have a larger meter if they're gonna fight
Blend
fires.
properly.
Yeah, I mean, if they're
Exactly.
gonna, do the blending,
Right.
they'd have to have a larger meter.
The meter size is a convenience for large users in the city. And it recognizes that the city funds its water system from means different than just all water sales. You collect taxes, you move money around, and that's the only reason that there's a water meter size in your ordinance that I can logically extrapolate to. It doesn't make sense to use that as a way of figuring out your rate for the village.
How about as far as for them to hook up to us, is there a huge cost difference from an 8-inch backflow valve to a 2.5 inch?
It's on the order of I would say 5,000 versus 1,500, something like that.
We just put in, it was about 25
Yeah,
for a 2.5.
right.
Wouldn't you have to have the same size
As the
If-
pipe, you mean?
as the meter? To, and
Oh, the backflow prevention?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you'd have to have
Yes.
the same size.
Yes, they have to be balanced,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anything else, Jeff?
All I was gonna say is they have a three-inch meter on their well. You know, you're just gonna blend water with a 3-inch meter. I mean, you can run an 8, 24, 50-inch meter, it don't matter, you're only gonna get 3-inch blend with their well. You see my point? They've only got a 3-inch meter now.
The
Anything
issue
you go
with the
bigger is only for fire protection, has nothing to do with their being equal. So if you wanted to go a 3-inch meter on the city of Rushford side to the village to match their 3-inch meter, fine. But they took away the fire flow, and you put the fire flow exactly onto them, exactly the way they have it right now. You're not accepting fire flow if you go with a smaller meter.
Correct.
That was my only point.
And you know, if they had a fire, they could still run their well. That's an emergency situation, and they could then flush their water mains after the fire. So we're not saying that they have to use our water entirely for a fire. In fact, it would benefit them because they would have our pressure and our flow plus their well. So they would have a greater capacity to fight a fire if they did either one of those situations.
I think if there's a fire over there, we're rolling tankers anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're gonna be coming back to town here to fill. So